Miriam.
If you'd like to get started, we've got punch over here, and everyone grab yourself a drink if you haven't got one already, and take a seat, and Miriam's going to lead us in a game shortly. Bejoy, welcome to your birthday party. It is a few months in advance, which was probably a bigger surprise for you, because Bejoy made a comment to his sister. I never kept my birthday party with family. It's been 10 years since I've had a birthday party with family. I hope I was allowed to say that. And so, wow, why not? So that's why Lorna has instigated this birthday party. So welcome Lorna, all the way from somewhere in Timbuktu to New Zealand. And Haji, welcome Haji, all the way from New Zealand. This was not planned. It was an incident of medical science. We brought them both here this time of year, which is fine. And I think God had bigger plans. And finally, welcome Esther, a special guest from Australia, who was, well, we'll find out where she was from a bit later in the program. Welcome Esther. Who picked oranges with Bejoy at 1.5 years old? Does anyone know who picked oranges with Bejoy at 1.5 years old? If that person knows, they can put up their hand. No one else knows. No, it wasn't you, Jason. Oh, do you know? Yes, it was Lucy. Come and get your prize.
Give her a hand.
Do you remember listening to First time in 20 years. Okay. Who attended for Bono Kindy at 3 years old? Lorna, find a seat.
I'm trying to.
Anybody know? Yes, my son. Your son, I believe, did. His name is Duncan. Wait. That's not the answer I got here. Oh, wait. Jonathan Lovett, not here.
Yes, he is.
Jonathan. Here we are. Man, hasn't he grown? Who came to Bangladesh to homeschool Bejoy when he was obviously homeschool age? Who came to Bangladesh to homeschool Bejoy? Jason? No. Anyone else know? Yes?
Lorna.
Yes, it was Grandma. Also, Helen Martin and Joan Leaf. Some people's names might be mentioned twice, but be assured they'll only get one prize. Okay. Who came and spent their 11th and 21st birthdays with Bejoy in Bangladesh? Can anyone guess who that was? Tracy? It was Miriam. Yes. Miriam, come and get your prize. Well, okay. Who loves playing chess with Bejoy? Tracy. Yes, Grandpa.
This bloke learned chess on the internet, on the computer. And so the first game we played, he beat me. The second game we played, he beat me. The third game, I made a silly move, and I beat him.
In Bangladesh, with Bejoy, in India, sorry, Hebron in South India, who shared Scholar of the Year prize with Bejoy? Miriam.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Esther. Who has given the strongest support since Bejoy's arrival in New Zealand? A lot of people probably Tracy again. You are right. Uncle Clive. Clive. Another one. Who signed the papers for Bejoy's citizenship? Who signed the papers for Bejoy's citizenship? You are right. Thank you, Bubba. Pat. Who was at Bejoy's mother's 21st party? Who was at Bejoy's mother's 21st party? Excluding family. Excluding family.
Excluding family and private, they don't count. Excluding family.
What does family mean?
Family, like
Nuclear?
Here's a lesson to be learnt. Lorna obviously wrote this, and she remembers that they were ahead of her 21st. So Bejoy, take a note of who's here. Because we won't remember. In 40 years' time. Who made this fabulous cake that we're going to be cutting a bit later in the evening? Who made this fabulous birthday cake? Anyone know who made this cake? No, it wasn't Miriam. Good try. Jason? No. Well, yes, we got to figure out the name. Jason? Shirley, come and get it. Shirley, come and get your prize.
sorry, what am I supposed to do?
Okay, so please, I think we'll straight into dessert.
Bejoy's big brother. Remember the dust when he's small. That's Ojit's mother and sister. With the newborn boy, smiling at Walter. This is Bejoy's first birthday. We're celebrating the 21st. This is his very first birthday up here. On the beach, Fox's Bar on the Star Beach. Look at the slim on Can you recognize Bejoy in the shepherd's costume? His first drama.
Jonathan and Paul.
With Jonathan and Paul, his two cousins.
Katrina and Justin.
And there's a big hand for them.
Okay, I think we'll play that again a bit later on, maybe after the cutting of the cake. I think a good idea, so that if you've missed any shots, you can see it again. It's quite nice. Okay, right now, here's some more lights up, please. Just before we get on with the parent speech, we've got sister. Hello, is that you, Serena? How are you? Okay, everything you say I'm going to repeat. So she's just been lazy the whole day and she hasn't done much. Hey, you're live here with about 60 people at Bejoy's surprise birthday party. So I'm going to just grill. You're jealous? Oh, I'm sure you get one yourself. We wish you were here. Sarita says what really counts is she's going to be here for his real 21st.
She thinks.
Sarita, would you like to pass on any message to Bejoy? Yeah, you can talk to him. You can pass on a message to everyone. How about you tell us something special which maybe no one else knows, which that might make him feel really good or embarrass him or something like that. Okay, excellent. Sarita, then we're going to hear from Lorna.
Well, first of all, I want to give you all a very warm welcome. It's absolutely wonderful having you all here today. It's just beyond my hopes and dreams to get you all together, what with my surgery and Ojit's sudden arrival this week. But I'm so delighted that he could be here with us tonight. He's asked me to speak on his behalf because he's not strong enough at the moment to speak to us. So I want to, having welcomed you, I want to just give a message to my son. I want to be speaking to Bejoy right now, but you can listen in. I'll let you listen in to what I have to say to my son on his 21st birthday. Firstly, Bejoy, thank you for coming into the world to be our son. It's been a privilege to care for you and try to answer all your constant questions of why, Mum. Parenting at a distance has had its challenges. Spending a month out of every 12 in transit on Indian railways to get to see you was pretty tough, but it was always well worth the journey to see your smiling face. I nearly lost you 5 times. Firstly, when I was 7 months pregnant, I had a high fever and I went into labour. My husband had to travel by rickshaw many miles to find a midwife to come who said she's almost too far gone into labour. If she makes it to the morning, then take her to the hospital, which was 3 hours journey down the road on a bumpy road, which they did. And he wouldn't have survived in Bangladesh at 7 months, which he would have here. But we made it to the hospital and they got me out of labour. But I came home starving, hungry, because I couldn't eat the food at the hospital. A man I want to honour tonight is Mr. George Bound, who 3 or 4 of you here tonight would know. People at this table here will know. A man who's just lost his wife this week. She's just gone to be with her Lord this week. But George Bound, he prayed right through my pregnancy. He was not an intercessor. He did not know how to pray, except the normal prayers us Christians pray. But during my pregnancy, God didn't call his wife, but a middle-aged man, to get out of his bed. Almost every night, God would call him to get out of his bed and go and pray. And pray for this pregnant lady he didn't even know, he'd never met, in Bangladesh. Because I was the daughter of his friends, Graham and Gwen Salisbury. I think they're at that stage in the same home group. And he would pray. And he'd pray till the burden lifted, then go back to bed. And that was the birth of an intercessor. And that man now is been for many years a great intercessor. I was 5 days and nights in labour, and that's when I nearly lost Bejoy once again with birth hypoxia. He did not breathe when he was born, and I asked them to look after the baby in the night and to bring him to me when he woke. He never woke and they never called me. He was fitting the whole night, convulsing. Next day, I woke up and said, "Where's my baby? You didn't wake me." And they brought him to me and he was convulsing. He was unconscious, convulsing. And so the mother who's just had the baby, went out looking for the doctor. There's one Italian Catholic priest who's the doctor there, and I found him tending his roses in the garden. I asked him to come and look after, to come and see my son. He said, "I'll just finish what I'm doing, then I'll be there." And he finished tending his roses, then he came to see my son, and he said, his very words were, "I'm sorry, he'll die. Should he live, he will be a vegetable. Please meet the vegetable." God works miracles. The next day was Sunday. My dearest mother, who's looking at me just then, my dearest mother was there beside me. When the doctor said he could do nothing, he didn't even put up a saline drip for all the doctors who are here. He didn't do anything for him. So we popped him in the only taxi of Jasor, springless, and drove him down to our home in Kulna City, where there was no decent hospital for him to have been born. And that night I spent feeding him by dropper, colostrum by dropper, all night, all night vigil. And then the next day was Sunday, and Ajit asked me, "Shall I go and find a paediatrician?" And I said, "He's too far gone for that. Go to church and take my mother and pray for him there. The only doctor who can help him is God." And there at church on that Sunday morning, the pastor stopped to pray during the service, and at that express moment back home in the house, he stopped fitting. After 2 days of fitting. And then at the end of the service, the pastor thought, "Oh, I don't think we prayed enough," and he called Ajit up and Mama, and he laid hands on Ajit and prayed in proxy for Bejoy. And as they prayed the second prayer, he woke up and was looking for food. And 5 days he didn't make a squeak, so my mother-in-law was still jesting me and saying, "Oh, he's a vegetable, all right. He doesn't make any noise, he doesn't cry. He's sure, the doctor's right, he'll be a vegetable." So 5 days later I cried out to God and I said, no, I didn't cry to God, I told my son, if you don't cry, you won't get your next meal. I walked off to the bathroom. And I only locked the door in the bathroom, and my sister-in-law came running and knocking on the door and saying, "Big bride," Bodhi means big bride, "come quick," he's screaming. And that was the miracle of his healing, total healing. I believe he got a brain transplant from upstairs, because he's got far beyond the intelligence of his own parents. And so all glory tonight be to God. He went to work with Mum for a year at the Assemblies of God, where I worked as a community development program director. He used to go to the seminars when I was teaching the health workers, and he used to have an all-day feast I won't go into any more details because I was oblivious to him feeding as I was teaching my dozens of health workers who'd come in for the villagers for a week. So he had a wonderful week. When we weren't lecturing, he'd go from one arm to another, right round the group. Everyone loved him. Very much loved. At 1 year of age, as a matter of fact, he was born just over the border from where Esther was born 3 months after him in Calcutta. So Calcutta and Jessore are just either side of the Indian border there. And so they grew up very close, and Kulna was opposite Baripada on the map, where they both grew up on other sides of the... I thought that's interesting. I discovered that just the other day, since Esther came. At 1 year of age, he got diphtheria, and despite having had diphtheria shots at the Save the Children Fund clinic where Ojit worked. Ojit was head of the laboratory and the pharmacy at Save the Children Fund, and he'd had his shots there, even so he developed diphtheria. By the time he was found out, because the doctors at the Save the Children Fund only gave him small oral doses of penicillin, it did not work for him, and so the poor boy was just about gone by the time we took him to a specialist who looked down his throat, said we have minutes, only minutes to save his life, and told us where to take him. And because I worked in cooperation with the city surgeon, the government civil surgeon, I was able to ring him up and ask him to send his own jeep with this anti-diphtheria vaccine, which was brought to this hospital that had been opened the day before, with no equipment, nothing. There, no suction, no oxygen, nothing, no nurses, nothing, no doctors, just beds. And we took him there, and suddenly there was people just shooting him with injections from 5 sides to get in hundreds of thousands of units of penicillin, plus all this anterior diphtheria vaccine. I don't know why they didn't put a drip in, but they didn't. They just did it all intramuscularly into this poor child's body, and they were just injecting him round the clock, and saved his life. But on the 3rd day, diphtheria goes to different nerve systems and attacks them. Over the next 3 months, you can be attacked anywhere, and it attacked his heart muscles, and his heart stopped beating one day when a doctor had gone to the public hospital to work, and there was no nurse there, no one except me, and I turned around and saw he was as white as the table here, just white as the sheet he was lying on, and I just didn't know what to do. I knew how to do CPR, but I was fed up. That was it. I could take no more. I just started crying. I stood there crying. As I stood there weeping, 2 angels came into the room. They were human ones, friends from my helpers who worked with me. And they came into the room, and they came over. At that express moment, I don't know how long he was gone, maybe minutes, I don't know. But at that stage, they suddenly asked me the question, what can we do? Suddenly came to me, I said, pray. And the 3 of us in unison cried out to God, God save him, God save him, God save him, 3 times. Immediately, I was listening to his heartbeat. All that time I had a stethoscope on his chest because I've been listening to the fading heartbeat and the fading breaths. And he'd been silent for some time as this lady had come in and asked. And as we cried out to God, gently, his heart started beating again and he started breathing again. So I don't know the time gap, but it might have been a minute, it might have been 3, I don't know, it would have been more than 5. He gave him back to us. So you're a miracle boy, many times a miracle. Another time I nearly lost him. We're on furlough and we're going through Singapore to stay with friends, and my kids have never played cops and robbers in their lives. But this night they played cops and robbers, and he ran straight through a plate glass door, 20 floors up in Singapore. And all he got, it was pouring with blood, but once we cleaned him, there was only a few minor scratches, which if you look at him closely, he gave no stitches or anything. You can see all the scars still today. So we nearly lost him the last time, here in the best medical country in the world for good medical care, before the days of Starship at Auckland Hospital in the children's unit, they didn't recognise that he had a burst appendix. And I took him in already with a burst appendix, and at 11 p.m. at night the registrar said, I don't know what to do, his pulse is racing very fast. I'd known for 6 hours, 7 hours what was wrong, but I couldn't say anything because I was a nurse. And so what to do? So he went, I'll go and ring my registrar. He woke up the registrar and she said, when in doubt, operate. So he took my son off to operate on him, and instead of doing a half an hour appendectomy, 2.5 hours later they wheeled out this child, and he said if we'd waited 20-30 minutes later, the anaesthetist said we wouldn't have had him. He was so badly, it burst, so bad inside. So another week later, the poison from the appendix had gone somewhere else, and he needed, I won't embarrass him by telling the next operation he had the next week, but God saved his life once again, so let's give God another clap, because it's the glory of God. So Bejoy, we have you. I just wanted to give glory to God. That's all I wanted to tell you, that a lot of you here tonight, you young people, don't know the story of why he is here and how he is here. And yeah, that's all I've got to say. I want you to know, my son, what does son mean? Son stand for tonight. The words, the letters S-O-N. Son, you've been saved to serve. You've been saved for a purpose. Bejoy is studying medicine at Otago and studying biochemistry at the same time. And he has a burden, he can tell you, to do research, drug research. He's had that desire for many years. Godspeed you on your vision. O stands for obeying your Lord. Read the word and pray every day, Bejoy. It's the only way you'll get strength and the inspiration to fulfill your mission in life. And O is for only in Him will you find the strength and the creativity and the passion to keep achieving. N, never give up your dreams, your ambitions, your faith in God. Especially not because of what someone might say to you. Son, go with God. Godspeed.
It's not surprising that Bejoy wants to be a doctor. After all he's been through, the misadventure in the medical profession, he wants to put it right. But we've got another reason where we could have seen this coming, that Bejoy wanted to be a doctor. Perhaps instead of going through all the medical side of it, you could have just looked at his handwriting. Having such negligent parents, quote, unquote, before when Bejoy was young, he actually taught himself to read and write by reading the newspaper.
At age?
Well, I haven't got the age, you told me this.
At 3 years.
At 3 years old. So he started reading the newspaper himself. So that's, and also, we're wondering if this is partly the reason why when he holds the pen at some funny angle. It's to do with actually teaching himself to read and write. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Esther, speech time.
Give her a hand. Give her some courage.
I don't know whether to stand or to sit, so I'll just stand. Yeah, as you heard, I went to the same school as Bejoy for 8 years. And for the last 4 of those years, Bejoy is one of my closest friends at school. And I'd just like to share some of the things that he got up to. had these notice boards that the teachers used to post relevant newspaper articles on about just about interesting things, like, for example, science teachers would post relevant science things. Well, Bejoy always finds something creative to do that's unconventional. So guess what he did? He went off and he wrote these fake newspaper articles in newspaper font about things like scientific discoveries of a new element. And he posted it on the notice board. But best of all, it was so good that the science teachers took it down and mentioned it to the class.
Okay. Bejoy, as you might know, is really good with computers. In Standard 11, he took computer science as an extra subject. And he was on really good terms with the computer science teacher. And he just kind of said to Bejoy, yeah, you just do the work kind of thing and do the exam, and didn't really worry too much. And so what Bejoy used to do in his spare time is he'd go and he'd create these computer games, and he'd post them on, he'd put them on the school website, and then all the other kids would play them. But this time, Bejoy did get in trouble for it.
And he was on really good terms with the computer science teacher. And he just kind of said to Bejoy, yeah, you just do the work kind of thing and do the exam, and didn't really worry too much. And so what Bejoy used to do in his spare time is he'd go and he'd create these computer games, and he'd post them on, he'd put them on the school website, and then all the other kids would play them. But this time, Bejoy did get in trouble for it. Okay.
To travel home from school and back again, it was a 2.5-hour trip on a train, 2.5-day trip, on a train. And we used to stop at this, one of the stops on the train was at Madras. And there was this clock tower at the station. And yeah, so I don't know how on earth, I don't know who started it, but I suspect that Bejoy had something to do with it. And he found, I don't know how he found the entrance, because it's like really obscure, hidden away. You have to go up these dingy spiral staircase up to the top, and then go along on these rickety kind of ladder things, and you can see a view of all around. And you have to time when you go up there according to the chimes, because if you go in the clock tower when the bell's ringing, you'll be deafened. So then you go in, and sometimes it's locked and sometimes it's not. And then you climb up this rickety ladder up the top, and then you get the nice view. And that's something that Bejoy's done a fair few times, and took me up once as well. Okay, as you know, Bejoy's really, really smart. And yeah, it often seemed like we competed in class, but actually we didn't. That's just a side issue. But Bejoy was always really nice, and he didn't keep that knowledge to himself. One thing he used to do, he'd spend hours and hours explaining things to his classmates. And he also used to have a Make Physics Easy tutorial on some Saturdays, teaching his classmates how to do physics and other subjects which they struggled with. Bejoy claims that he can't act. Actually, he can. And we used to have drama festivals at school. So every 2 years, our class would have to do a drama and perform in front of the whole school. And there was kind of competitions and stuff. And in our final year, Bejoy even got an award for his acting. So that's just information to tuck away and remember. Another thing that Bejoy really enjoyed doing was trekking. We've had Duke of Edinburgh over in India as well, and yeah, we used to trek all around because the school was up in the mountains. So when we went on treks, it was kind of in hilly areas and stuff. And yeah, Bejoy completed a silver Duke of Edinburgh. But one of his treks, they got lost. and there was this mountain which they thought they were meant to go up, and they went up it, and it took them a couple hours to get to the top of it. But they got to the top and realised that it was the wrong mountain. And they were already running late, and it was kind of getting darkish, I think. And so the only way down toward where they wanted to go was really, really steep, like almost cliff-like. And so they had to go down. So they rolled their bags down, and then rolled themselves down, and somehow managed to come out alive. We're all very grateful.
Now, how many children of missionaries that you know actually bother to correspond with their parents' friends and that? So that's just something about the guy. And he's got a caring nature. He's, Lorna has always been very positive and confident in saying how he will take care of her, and that he's available and always willing to help, and that's a great characteristic. He's also got a determination, and that's in terms of study and work and a work ethic, and because that's shown in his success at Hebron. It shows now in the study he's doing, and the fact that he's doing really medicine as a byproduct really of his real desire to do research work. So determination is a great characteristic, and stickability, and you're just really really good person, and it's really pretty positive to have had a chance to get to know you a little bit in the last few days. But also I wanted to just leave you with a verse from Psalm 119, really verses 9 to 16, but the nitty-gritty part is really how can a young man keep his way pure? And it's by living according to your word, so the word of the Father. Awesome. In Hebron, they were allowed to have a pet, a small pet each. And it could either be a bird or a fish, basically. It couldn't be a dog or a cat or anything large like that. And so he was given a parrot for his birthday one time. But this parrot was fully grown, so it came with a bad attitude and had an even worse vocabulary. And every other word was an expletive. Now, you can't imagine Bejoy speaking like that, so obviously the parrot picked it up beforehand. And so Bejoy tried really hard to change this parrot and to train it not to swear and to speak properly. But even Bejoy, with all his patience, and he wondered what to do. But he got so mad that with a fit, he put the parrot in the freezer. So then for a few moments he heard this parrot squeak, and then gradually it went quiet, and he heard nothing more. And he got a bit frightened that actually he might have killed the parrot. And so he quickly opened the freezer door. And when it came out, the parrot stayed really quiet. It was quite calm. And it just hopped onto his arm, and he put his arm out for it, and he said, "I believe I may have offended you with my rude language and actions. I will endeavour at once to correct my behaviour. I really am sorry and beg your forgiveness." And this Bejoy was completely surprised. So he was about to comment to the bird and say, "Well, that's fine." And he was interrupted by the parrot. Said, "May I ask what happened? What the chicken did?"
We're good at maths, but we have discovered the reason why Bejoy is good at maths. There's numbers on the bottom. There's numbers on the bottom of the box. Okay? Can you possibly demonstrate how to use this? I'm not familiar with it myself.
I prefer the building block.
Can't believe you're almost 21. Since I went all the way to Bangladesh to celebrate my 21st, it seems only natural that you did come to my turf to celebrate yours. So I've just got a few memories from the times we've spent together. I remember the first memory I think I have is when you first came back to New Zealand after when you were about 2. And we were all, the whole Salisbury clan, no longer a Salisbury now, but the whole Salisbury clan lined up at the airport singing a song. How did it go, Dad? Something like...
Welcome home.
Come home. Come on if you know it. Welcome home. Oh,
Cheese and Lorna and Andrew
Bejoy Dash.
That's all I remember of it, but there's seems to remember some of the rest. But
I
anyway,
know some of it, but
since I wrote it.
that was very fun.
Silly.
Must have only been about. The other thing I remember is in Robertson Road in Grandma and Grandpa's old place when we were loading up a big container. That must have been the next time or something that you were there. And I remember we were loading up a big container with medical supplies and a four-wheel drive so that they could drive in Bangladesh back to the village where your grandparents lived. And all that sort of thing. And we were playing around, and I remember we climbed inside it and played around in there for a good while. I can't remember exactly what we did, but I remember there being a big container and having some fun with you then. With all the cousins. What else do I remember? I remember when I was 11 and braved the big bad world and went off to Bangladesh by myself with Grandma and Grandpa. It's a bit of a scary flight. I think my parents must have been a bit worried about sending me off to Bangladesh at such a young age. But I remember lots of fun times when we were there playing around at home and going to Cox's Bazaar and staying on the beach. An apartment with cows out the front. I have a visual of that. So funny. And some really strange ways that we entertained each other, and Sarita as well. She was about 4, was she about then? 3 or 4. And I think we need, I don't have the photo here, but I think we need a snapshot reenactment of a scene that I remember. So Bejoy, come up here. And Esther, can you be Sarita? So Bejoy, come up here. So we'll do it down there. You need to get down on all fours. On all fours properly. Now, Sarita, you need to sit on his back. Just on the side saddle. Okay, now, Bejoy, you need to do this with your hand. And you need to go forward, go like this. It was a photo, maybe it was a little bit better in the photo.
Elephant.
I've got the photo somewhere. Anyway, the next time I came when I was 21, I flew over there on the way off to a missions trip in Thailand. Decided to have a couple of months thinking about what I was doing and whether I should marry the person I liked and all that sort of thing, and getting away from New Zealand and having some fun with you guys while I was there. And I remember even more fun times than the first time, including an extremely long train trip down from Calcutta to southern India, so all the way down the length of India, to take you guys back to school, and picking up Esther on the way and a whole lot of other school friends. We had an amazing time climbing the bell tower that Esther was talking about. The train station, where was that? In Madras. With only like 1 minute to spare before being completely deafened. There were some very strange people on the train, including little beggar boys with monkeys on their hips, and weird, almost scary men wearing saris, demanding money. It was very enlightening. And I remember, do you remember playing Past the Pigs with those little boys off to become monks in some strange land? It's very interesting. But it was on that trip that I saw that you had really grown up from being a cute little cuzzy bro to growing up and up and up and becoming a great young man. And now since you've come to New Zealand in the last couple of years, you really are truly becoming an exceptional man of God. You've got such great strength and talents, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what's next in the next chapter of your life. So unfortunately, my husband couldn't be here tonight. He had something else that he had to go to. But he's written a little medley of songs. Some from childhood, from past memories, and grandeur. So you might be able to recognise some of the pieces in it. But since we've roped Esther to come and play with us, and this was a surprise party, so we haven't really practiced, but hopefully you'll all be able to hear the sentiment behind the split notes and other things. But anyway, it's really good to finally be here at your 21st, and I hope that the next little while is an even bigger adventure for you. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's next. Surely did. Today's amazing work.
Out there. So we're going to have some accompaniment to sing a very traditional song which I'm sure you all know. So if you can all take a big breath and join with us now.
Seeing as it was a surprise party, I didn't have much of a chance to prepare anything. And I'm not much of a speech giver, but the one thing I will try to do before I finish speaking is to change the image of sickness, ill-ridden Andrew who kind of made it into somebody who you can talk to, because after it ends I'd really like you guys to stick around because I haven't been able to see you all yet. I'd really like to say thank you first of all to everybody who's been involved with setting this up. It must have taken a while. Thank you for all the effort you put in, especially to the Danvers who were here to help us up and the other people who were here before us. Thank you. Thank you, Mum, and thank you, Dad, for coming up with the idea of doing this. Thank you so much. I know it sounds a little bit cheesy, but it really does mean a lot to me because I haven't really lived with you guys for the past 10 years, and this is sort of like 10 times the number in our family all together for the past 10 years, so thank you very much. I guess you're expected to say something slightly profound, as on your 21st you've had 21 years to find out a lot of stuff, and it kind of sounds a little bit bad if you don't say something, but one thing I have learned is something about growing up. When I was really little, I used to think, oh, I'll be grown up when I'm 16, and then I got to 16 and nothing much happened. I still got told what to wear by my parents and told where to go and what to do. So it's like, oh, I'm not really grown up. I thought it might be 17 and that came and went, and then 19 and that came and went. And it was about sometime this year I was thinking about it. There isn't really an age where you eventually grow up. Everybody knows that. Everybody always has a little bit of something fun in you that wants to do something childlike. But what I've learned from the testimony of a lot of people, including all of you guys, and from my parents and their relationships with you guys, is that growing up is really when you step out from under the shelter of your parents and you realize that your shelter is still God. That you realize growing up is when you finally come to the point where you stop relying on your parents to a certain extent and put that faith in God yourself instead of relying on your parents to do that for you. So I don't think anybody gets there completely in their lifetime, but thank you so much, guys, for helping me to make a little step forward in that direction in these past 21 years. And what I'd really like to ask of you guys is, there is a long road ahead, and I know you pray for my parents, but I'd really ask you to please pray for me as I go through university. It is quite hard down at Otago keeping what you believe. So that's probably the best birthday present you can give me. Thank you so much for everything, guys. It really means a lot.
Just want to introduce a few people, and then we're going to do something else special. Just a few people, if you could just stand up when I call your name. A lot of you have heard of each other, and so I'm just going to give you an opportunity to be familiar with three couples who there may be names that you've heard of, but you don't know who they are, and you may want to ask them a question or just know who they are. So first of all, Shirley and Graham and Shirley Dando, if you could stand up. Shirley, they're involved with the financial side of Bejoy, which is what Ajit and Lorna, the mission that they've basically birthed, and by God's grace, continuing. And secondly, is it Laurie and Jill Davison? Are you here?
Yes.
Laurie, Laurie, are you the chairman of Bejoy? Is that right? And we've got Kion Elaine. Kion in the kitchen, there, and Elaine. They're in charge of the newsletter for Bejoy.
And tonight's everything tonight. Thank you for the venue and everything.
I'll get to that one. So they're three couples that you may just want to know. Oh, they're who they are. Okay, so you can talk to them later. Bruce and Jen are here. Where are you? Bruce and Jen Collingham. We made this. Okay. Some people call him Andrew. I've always called him Bejoy. And I'd just like to say thank you for being an awesome nephew. And hopefully your mum will stop getting us mixed up now. You know? She calls me Bejoy, and does she call you Brian sometimes? Yeah. I think it has something to do with Lorna looking after me when I was a baby, because Lorna's about 12 years older than me. And then, of course, when she had her own son, she kept on calling him Big Brian. And now, when she's talking to me, her younger brother, she keeps on calling me Bejoy. So maybe, I don't know, but
What a lovely opportunity we have. Father, we come to you in Jesus' name. We just thank you for the fellowship here tonight. We thank you for each family represented here. We thank you for those who have, down the years, have prayed for this man and for his family, who prayed for Lorna and Ajit. We just thank you tonight for your goodness to them, for your grace and your care over them. And we just claim now a blessing on this man as he steps out and extends his education, as he moves around, as he worked so hard last year to pay some of his fees. We just bless this man tonight, Lord, and we send him off with your blessing and with our blessing tonight. Thank you for your goodness to us. Thank you for this fellowship tonight. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
Happy Bejoy. Happy birthday, yeah. Glad we could make it to the party. It was a really good time. Yeah, it's awesome to be able to come up and spend the time up here and see you, be with you in your party. Hope you have an awesome year down there. Haven't seen you enough of you down there. Hopefully we'll catch up a bit more over the next year. And got good memories from our time seeing you over in Bangladesh, and last year when you were down in Christchurch with us briefly, or 2 years ago now. And just memories playing those board games, making those board games, and
Singing songs with Philip.
yeah,
Donkey Brown or something.
yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, it'd be good to see next time if you can make it up to town or vice versa or whatever, so that'd be great.
Yeah, studies go well.
Yeah, God bless.
Bejoy! Have a happy
It's actually
birthday.
good. Yeah, happy birthday and thanks for playing Pokemon with us when you came to our house, even though we don't remember it.
You were quite little at the time. Probably won't remember those days, but we do. We also remember you playing that Indian, what do you call it? Indian drum and saluted during the Indian dance in the Mango Bridge Baptist Church. Those were wonderful days. We hope that your future will be as wonderful as the past, and wish you all the best. Bye. Bye. Cheers.